It's 7:03. Good evening, everyone. Both adequate and electronic notice of this meeting specifying the time, place, and manner in which such notice was provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6. Specifically, on January 9, 2024, proper notice was sent to the Courier News and the Star Ledger and filed with the clerk at the Township of Bridgewater and posted on the Municipal Bulletin Board. Please be aware of the Zoning Board of Adjustment policy for public hearings. No new applications will be heard after 9:30 p.m., and no new testimony will be taken after 10 p.m. If you're able, please rise for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Roger. Can I have a roll call, please? Here.
Here. Here.
Says I'll be back. Here.
I'm here.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to open up the meeting to any members of the public that would like to speak on any land use issue that is not on our agenda tonight. All right, seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the meeting. We have, at least to my knowledge, we have no minutes tonight, right, Jim? Roger, no minutes? We have no resolutions. Rich, could you take us through what we have on our docket real quick?
Yes, so we have a few things that are being carried. First one is the Bridgewater Realty LLC, the Starbucks matter. That's being carried to May 14th, 2024. There'll be no further notice with respect to that. We're also not hearing this evening the Belly Holdings LLC matter. That is being carried to May 28th, again at 7 p.m. in this room without further notice from the applicant. And CX Towers application is not being heard this evening. That is being carried to May 28th, but there will be new notice from the applicant with respect to that. And the 1200 Route 22 land investors matter is being carried to June 11th, also without further notice. And the Chimney Rock application is being carried to June 11th as well, also without further notice.
All right, thank you very much. And with that, the Ravi family, good evening, 97 Ivy Lane. Good to have you. Come on up. Hopefully Suzanne got your laptop working. Great. If we could just check jurisdiction and notice.
Yes, so notice was in proper form. It was mailed on April 5th, published on April 8th, which is more than 10 days from today or prior to today. So the board does have jurisdiction to hear the application.
Hi there. Hi. If I could make a suggestion, do you have a copy of the Burr-Sarmad joint memo? Great. A lot of times it's easier if you just kind of go through that and go to the points for clarification. Maybe just take us through, a high level, what you're trying to do, present your case, and then while you're doing it, try and answer as many questions as you can from that April 18th memo.
And before we do that, I am going to swear both of you in, okay? So if you would both stand, please, and board professionals as well. I'm going to swear you in at the same time. Just stand, raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give to this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. And for the record, would you state your names for the record, please? Thank you. Great. Thank you, everyone.
All right, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Much appreciated. This is an exciting time for us. So we've been at this for a couple of years, my wife and I. So wanted to take you through, as you mentioned, the points in the letter. We will certainly address all of them tonight. More closer? Thank you. All right. So first and foremost, I just want to thank the the planning board and participants, they've helped me quite a bit, Lauren and I, and, like I said, we've been at this for a few years now. We've been excited. We've been in the home since 2004. Lauren and I both grew up in Bridgewater. She's fourth generation. I am second. We actually met in high school. In fact, she was the last graduating class of Bridgewater West, a Falcon. I was the first graduating class of Bridgewater Raritan Regional.
You just gave away my age.
So one of the biggest reasons why we're doing this is because we want to stay in town. We're bringing my mother, who's by herself now. I lost my father 2 years ago. He was actually a Bridgewater Township employee for many, many years. She was also a Bridgewater Township employee as a special ed teacher, and Lauren's dad was also a Bridgewater Township employee. So we're expanding the home to accommodate our growing family, which is really, really important to us. And we want to stay in Bradley Gardens. That's where I grew up, and we love the area. The neighbors are fantastic, and certainly love the character of the neighborhood. We'll address the comments. I have that in here. I just want to make sure we outline the background. As we mentioned, been in the home since 2004. 2 young kids, 14 and 16, both in high school. We're accommodating the evolving needs of the family, desire to stay. We believe that a lot of the improvements made in the neighborhood really allowed us to figure out what we can do here in Bradley Gardens in this home. And in fact, when we walked into this home in 2003, we loved it, and we still love it. And ultimately, we want to stay there because we love the neighborhood as well. We feel like a lot of renovations have happened over the years, and we just waited. And again, over the last couple of years, we've been talking about this, and we feel like this will align to the overall integrity and character and contributes positively to the community. The house is 97 Ivy Lane, single-family dwelling, zone R20, 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, and it's about a half-acre lot. The existing home, as you can see here, you see the garage to the left. On the left-hand side, we're going to be proposing, which is one of the variances, a new
Okay, so
garage.
before we go too far on pictures, we don't have those in advance, right?
No.
So we're going to mark that. Do we have a hard copy of this, or did you email this?
I could send it over for sure, yeah.
Okay, if you would. And then I'm going to mark this as, let's mark this sheet, I guess, as A1. And it looks like consisting of 3 photographs, the front elevation, the rear elevation of the home, and then a family picture. Is that fair to say?
That's fair.
Okay, thank
And
you.
what type of year were these taken, and were they recent? And who
Sorry?
took them?
Literally yesterday and today.
Perfect.
The family picture.
Family picture was about a year ago.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So I'm showing the front and rear because we're going to have an addition to the left of the garage and on the rear, where you see the deck and where you see the patio there. So the proposed house addition to the existing single-family dwelling, we have a great room, a new basement addition, a new 2-story addition to the rear with a first-floor bedroom and a second-floor bedroom. We have a new master bedroom on the second floor as well, and a new garage, which would be a 2-car garage. And then outside of the house, we're proposing a covered patio porch, which would be pavers, and then ultimately a cantilever deck. This is submitted in the plans. This is the proposed addition, new garage on the left-hand side, the master bedroom you see to the right above, which is now the living room and kitchen. And then in the back, as we go through this, this is the left elevation. See the covered porch far left, as well as the garage going in the back, and then the second floor addition going into the back as well. This is the other elevation. You see the cantilever deck, and that would be the great room to the right and in the back. And this is the rear elevation view with the great room on the left, and then the covered porch area with the garage on the right. This you don't have either. This is just showing some of the homes in the area that have had additions over the last several years. Some of them are very much the same as ours, a split level, single-family dwelling. Many of them have second-car garages. The one to the bottom left was an addition. The one to the middle right was also a recent addition.
All right, so just for the record, we're going to, this page we're going to mark as A2. If you refer to it, if you go back to it, this will be A2, just so the record can.
Okay.
follow along, okay?
And just so the board is clear, your testimony is that your addition and your proposed project is very similar to other houses in your neighborhood.
Very much.
Where do these houses lie in relation to yours? How far away?
They are,
The yellow one's across the street from us.
yes. Most of them are, I would say, less than a quarter mile, right around the corner. One of them is on Ivy, the rest of them are on Timothy. And we are at the intersection of Ivy and Timothy.
And in terms of total square footage, what are you asking the board for? What's your total proposed, and how does it relate to these houses?
So total proposed would be similar to the one in the top left, which would be, a little over 3,000 square feet. I'm unsure of the other homes, but with the additions that they put on and the garage, I'd imagine it would be very similar.
And they could even be bigger?
The one in the top left, I believe, is.
Thank you.
So just getting to the comments, overview of proposed improvements, I mentioned the design of the house, I think is consistent with the character of the other homes in the area. Doesn't really change that. The building height, which was a question, zoning table is 35 feet required. We are 27.6, so we're under that. Pre-existing nonconformities, the backyard shed. That was an existing shed when we moved in. We did replace it. So in essence, it's still in the same spot. And then the other bulk variances and D4 variances required, the minimum setback on the left-hand side of the property would be for the second-car garage. And then the total setback would be including that second-car garage, but staying within that 44 feet that you see down below in the table. And then floor area ratio, 16.8% is what we have it calculated today. I know there's a question on that, which I'll get to. So in essence, the question was, and let me start with the variance is not inconsistent with the intent and purpose of the master plan and land development ordinance. I was asked to make sure there was testimony on that. It carries out the general purpose of zoning. And the question on the FAR calculation was due to the fact that the basement would be partially finished, which we will note, and we do have a current basement that's also storage and mechanical. So the calculation that was in the letter was accurate, and we would stay within that.
You don't have a basement now, do you?
We do. We have a crawl space, so the question was the entire basement is 1,000 square feet. Under our dining room in our split-level home is a crawl space, and then there's another section that's a basement.
Are you going to be
About
adding
320
more
square feet.
basement when you do the renovation?
I'm sorry?
Are you going to be doing more basement when you do the renovation?
We will have further extended out the basement, yes, under
Okay,
the
so
great
it'll
room.
be additional, okay.
Yes.
If I could, just to clarify, so the finished portion of the basement is included in your FAR and percentage here of 16.8%?
So it should say partially finished. It is included, but it's partial.
That portion that is finished is included in the 16 point, or the 3,407 square feet?
Correct.
It's a 221?
Yes, the 221 is the,
221
that's the
square
number.
feet is the...
Correct.
that, okay.
So other comments, the mislabeled architectural plans will be revised and resubmitted. We don't intend to do anything with the trees in the back. They will not be removed as part of this project. Exterior lighting will be minimal. We're not proposing any lighting off to the left side of the new garage, where we need the setback, the side yard setback. Stormwater drainage, the grade of the land, the drainage pattern slopes from the northeast corner of the lot to the southeast. 112 to the street, 103, so about 9 feet of a slope. Inlet storm drain is in front of the lot. If you're standing on the street, it's right to the left of our driveway. All downspouts and gutters are collected and discharged to the curb. The plans will note that this is a minor, not a major development per Bridgewater Township, stormwater management, and we're making note of Chapter 126-280, runoff standards. No new utilities are proposed that will require disturbance of Ivy Lane.
That's an important one, just so you can clarify to the board, you have a newly paved street.
Yes.
you cannot tear up that street. And Bill, maybe you want to speak to that, because I know there's other cases pending, why that is and why it's important for the board to know it. How dare you? Could you explain to the board why we have a situation in Ivy Lane that street cannot be opened under any circumstances without penalty?
Oh, sure. So the township has a street excavation ordinance on the books right now that anybody that wants to open up our road or disturb curbing or sidewalk adjacent to the roadway would need to file a road opening permit application for review and approval by the town. Included in that ordinance is what's called a moratorium. So anytime the township resurfaces a roadway, reconstructs a roadway, that roadway, except for emergencies, cannot be disturbed for a period of 7 years. So, obviously emergencies come up, whether it's utilities, somebody needs to get in if there's a break with a water main or something, the road has to be open, but we try to avoid disturbing the road at all costs. If an application comes along like this and the road does need to be disturbed, we would ask that a proper pavement repair be performed. There are some pretty strict requirements in the ordinance as far as restoring the pavement curb to curb. So a lot of times the utilities may be in the center of the road and you may just need to disturb half the road. The ordinance requires a full repair of the roadway for the width, beyond the width of the disturbance. So it's just in order to minimize unnecessary disturbance or cuts into the roadway and ensure that it's properly repaired. Does that make sense?
I just wanted you to hear it from the man, because, I mean, this is a
Understood.
big deal, and the whole township is under this moratorium whenever you're getting paved, and I just wanted to make sure that there was no oops situation that you come back to the town and, hey, I want to open up the road. It's a production. So we're good? All right, thank you.
I believe I've addressed the comments.
So that's it? That's your case? All right, open it up to questions from the board. Board members.
One question. If I recall correctly, there's a line of mature trees on the right side of your home.
Correct.
I assume you're not going to be impinging on them or encroaching on them? They're not going to be doing anything?
Our trees, they're a neighbor on Timothy's trees. They're right on the line, but on their side.
Nothing's going to happen to those
What's
trees?
going to happen to those trees?
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. There is a comment regarding your existing shed, which doesn't comply with this. Are you planning to move it to make it comply?
I could. It's there because it was existing. We have a lack of storage in the home, which is why we're also expanding. So I'd be happy to do that.
Anyone else?
You showed a bunch of other houses on your street that had recent additions. Do you know if any of them have had similar sidewalk variances needed?
I don't recall, actually. I don't know.
I was driving not only by your house, but through the neighborhood as well, and I saw that some of the improvements that you pointed out on Timothy, and as you stated, you're on the corner of Timothy and Ivy. And overall, driving in the neighborhood, I could see that there are individual homeowners who have improved substantially the size of their home. Some of the additions are on the back, so they're less visible. Some were more architecturally consistent with what you propose. And I think as the neighborhood continues to develop, that your design is moving the neighborhood in the same direction that it's currently going and will overall add value. When you look at what you propose, is there anything that you would have done or can do differently, or are you satisfied with what you are presenting to the board now?
This is our so-called wish list, for sure. This is what we plan to do. There's a cost to everything, but if anything, we would consider scaling back. The goal is, as my mother's 84 years old, none of us are getting younger. We're trying to make sure that we could bring in the home. I grew up on Maple Street, which is only a few blocks away. She's still there in the home that they bought when they came here. So we don't really think that there's a whole lot that we could do differently. If anything, we have considered, whether it's go above the living room, dining room area for a master bedroom, or going above the garage, or maybe scaling back, going in the back as well. But this was sort of the design that we stuck with.
Is there anything in particular, sorry,
the space that they're in, and, we'd love to have family over, so that the home is everything that we would want in a home, and it's right where we would want to be.
on the garage addition that you're proposing, is there any sort of driving factor as to why the width of that addition would be 13 foot 6? Kind of,
More for storage. Right now, we're a little over 11 feet. And we haven't pulled a car into that garage, I would say, since probably the first year that we owned the house. It's more, we have storage, literally pantry. Our garage is used as a kitchen pantry, and other things, of course, but we wanted a little extra space for storage and to even go behind if we could pull a car in there.
All right, board professionals, questions, comments, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had a couple of questions, clarifications. You said 3-bedroom house now,
3-bedroom, 1.5 bath.
and with the proposal, you're going up to a 4-bedroom house, 2.5 bath? Is that what,
We would have 5 bedrooms.
it would be 5?
Yes.
Okay, I only saw 4. Is there one
Fifth
on the
is-
first floor?
There's one on the first floor, yes, correct.
Does that exist now, or that's part of one of the?
Our family room, in essence, would be turned into a bedroom.
Okay. I missed the first one. Okay. So on the architectural plans, maybe I'm mistaken, but the garage addition on the left-hand side, is that a pass-through garage? Is there a garage door proposed on the rear?
There is, yeah.
Is
pass-through.
Is that to allow for lawn equipment or?
Would be for
like a
lawn
tractor to get
equipment,
in and out?
storage.
Okay.
Yeah, it's from the back to come
On the
over.
backside to
Yeah.
access?
Right now, I go around the house to get stuff out of the garage, or I use the shed for
Okay.
storage.
And your yard right now is fenced in, correct? The rear yard?
Only the left side, so the front, the left-hand side of the property, and the back. The right side of the property where
All those trees.
Or where the trees are?
the trees are is not fenced.
So the fencing will remain?
Correct.
After this project? You may have to modify
We'll
it.
cut the left-hand side a little bit, yeah.
Right, okay. One of the questions that we raised in our memo was about drainage and stormwater runoff impacts. And you had testified, I think, that you didn't believe there would be any impacts. Do you know, can you describe for the board how, when the water hits the ground, where it flows on your property, when it hits your roof? Where does it flow? Do you have roof, you have gutters and roof?
Downspouts go into the ground and
Do you
out
know
to
where
the
they
curb.
discharge?
Excuse me?
Where do they discharge? Out to the curb?
At the curb, yeah.
At the curb line?
They
Or the entirety of the existing home?
Yeah, in fact, when we purchased the home, I believe, forget if it was a hurricane that came through prior to 2004, I forget which one. They did have water in the basement, have issues with drainage, and we regraded the entire land from the top left or top right of the property, where I was mentioning, at 103 or 112, all the way down.
Okay.
So,
And that last big storm, all of our neighbors got water right next to us in their basement, and we didn't get dropped.
How did you guys fare in Ida?
we did fine, yeah.
No issues?
No water.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a sump pump that didn't turn on.
And in the proposed, you're proposing to expand the footprint of the home. Would the roof leaders for like the garage addition just go to grade in this proposal? Or would you tie those?
We would tie those in as well.
You would tie them into the existing
That would be the plan,
meter system?
yes.
I guess the last question I have is just similar to Board Member Kulak's question. When you were designing this proposal, working with your architect, were you aware that I know it's your wish list, but were you aware that you were exceeding what was allowed by the ordinance in terms of the setbacks as well as the size of the dwelling?
I wasn't aware of the shed, and when we finished, I wasn't aware that we were going over the FAR calculation, .8 at this point. So again, if there was a scale back, that would be an option, but this is where we wanted to make the proposal to go in.
And in this proposal, you're also too close to the one sideline.
Correct.
And in the aggregate, too close with the combined.
Right.
Did you take a look at alternative designs to see if there was a way that you could change your design to make it meet the setback, or was that?
We did. We thought about not putting on the garage. I feel as though it would be against character with the other homes in the neighborhood. We would be the only ones with the home that would be over 2,000 square feet or 2,500 square feet that doesn't have a second car garage. I think it would be very difficult to preserve the value of the home. And-
Aesthetically, it just didn't look like it belonged if we made it, had a,
So and just extending it slightly allowed us a little more storage as well. So we did look into another design to maybe shorten it up a little bit or have one garage door potentially and an enlarged garage.
Right. But it's your belief that this proposal fits in with the character of the neighborhood as evidenced by the photos that you
We do, yeah. In fact, we've spoken to some of the neighbors about it, as they were the architect I used is the same architect that the neighbor across the street from us used as well. That's what kind of sparked our curiosity with others in the neighborhood as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So my questions are largely going to be related to the FAR calculation, and that's simply to make sure that the request for the variance, for the D4 variance, is correct. I just want to make sure that the calculations are including everything. And I appreciate the breakdown, the calculation worksheet. There are,
Back to put up the worksheet for us?
yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you.
And that was included as part of the calculation. I just want to know, there are some errors on it, and I'm not calling into question any of the other calculations, but in the top portion, the percentage allowed should be 16, because the FAR allowed in the residential zone is 0.16, not 25, so I just want to clarify that. I just want to make sure mostly the basement, because I did call that out in the memo, the basement calculation, which only includes areas that have 7-foot high ceiling, so if it's less than 7 feet, then it wouldn't count. If it's more than 7 feet, it would count towards it. It said, it includes it at 221 square feet. And if you look at the existing basement space, it's a bit larger than that. And I just want to clarify that that's because you're only counting the portion of that that's currently finished.
Correct.
So the whole basement that's shown on sheet 2 of the architectural plans it shows it's almost 600 square feet, so only 200 square feet of that is finished?
About 200, because there's a mechanical room
Okay,
in the basement, and there's also storage, and then there's crawl space
okay,
that is under 4 feet.
okay, within that 600 square foot area?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the addition portion is approximately
391.
391, I think I calculated. Maybe it might be more with the walls and everything. So let's say it's, 390, 400. Was that included in the calculation as well?
Was, what we didn't note is we're partially finishing.
So you're partially finishing that portion as well?
We're also going to have storage, and we're going to move our mechanical room slightly just to make sure that we can make room for storage as well.
Okay, so is any portion of that being calculated? I just want to make sure, if you came back to the board, I want to make sure that you're, or you came back to the township, I want to make sure that if you did move stuff around, that you wouldn't have to come back to this board for a new D4. So it's best to do it now,
Right.
be conservative, include as much, and make the request while we're asking for the D variance right now. That's why I'd say, if you have a good estimate, put it into the calculation so we can, be correct.
Okay.
I don't think right now anything's included, so I just wanted to add that. In the top portion of that, in the existing floor areas, the 1201 and the 592, that includes the existing garage area right now?
It does.
It does, okay.
Existing garage is 280.
280, okay. And then that gets taken out of the calculation at the bottom, including the 793, okay. Okay, so if there's no proposed changes, my question in the memo really raised, was the basement considered? And was it included in the calculation if it wasn't, was or wasn't? It sounds like, a good portion of it is unfinished at this time. I think if that were to come up in the future, they'd have to, potentially seek additional variance relief. But for now, the request is the .168 based on those calculations, and so that's what it is. I think Bill handled a lot of the other variance requests and the stormwater. And I don't think I have anything else at this time.
I have a question on the bulk variances, being that the applicant doesn't have an attorney nor a planner. I'm just wondering, your opinion, and Rich, you can weigh in here as also, is this a C1 or a C2? Are we going to utilize flexible C, or is this a hardship?
I think we should defer to Mr. Aller on how this is.
So, yeah, I think that there's probably arguments both ways, for both, to satisfy both criteria. I think that we have, I'm just looking at the size of the lot here. So, we do have a lot which satisfies lot area and lot width, so we're not an undersized lot. I may take that back and say we're probably going to rely on the C2 criteria for this lot, in that it satisfies some of the purposes of zoning, purpose I with respect to increased visual acuity to the home, and purpose A, where there's some additional space appropriately designed and located for the property, which is always a benefit for the general welfare. It's a benefit to the neighborhood to increase the property values for the neighborhood.
Why don't we kick this back to the applicant, and maybe those two questions, and we're not giving you legal advice here, but just to help the board out, using the bulk variance, the flexible C2 is really what you're seeking here. Could you tell the board whether the benefits of granting this variance, and we're talking about your C variances that you need on your setbacks, would the benefits granting this variance substantially outweigh the detriments herewith?
I think the benefits would be that in the second car garage that I mentioned earlier, having a little extra storage is really on the left-hand side. I mean, that's what the variance is for. Obviously, the total square footage is the challenge.
Could you also speak to, will there be, in your opinion, a substantial detriment or detriment to the public good? And you've already spoken to the character of the neighborhood, but would granting this flexible C2 variance, in your opinion, create a detriment to the public good?
No, I do not.
And why do you feel that way?
I feel like, as I mentioned, because of the way the neighborhood is.
Do you think this would add value to your home? Absolutely. Would that add value to, on a correlated basis to your neighborhood? And
Yes.
okay.
So I just wanted to jump back, I don't know where the board sits on the shed. Absent any proofs of the shed having been placed there via variance relief before you own the home, let me just kind of ask you a couple questions about what's the size of your shed about, do you know?
It is a 10 by 12 shed.
And is that roughly the same size as the shed that's, as I'm looking at your survey, there's a shed to the right of your property?
Exactly the same size.
Same size? And it looks to be roughly the same setback off the side yards, right?
It's actually less.
Less, yeah. And is that the side where you said there was a heavy tree cover?
That is the same
Right.
size. Yeah.
So is it pretty well buffered from that neighbor?
There's no tree that shows, there's no tree in front of that shed at all, between my shed and that other shed.
Okay,
It's
so
actually-
between that property line?
Right.
All right. So if you were to place it where it's permitted, which I think is roughly 20 feet, right? Yeah, so if you came in 20 feet from the side yard and 20 feet from the rear yard, it's going to place it somewhere in the middle of your backyard. Would you think that's a convenient location for that?
Not.
And it would probably place it at about 2 or 3 feet lower elevation on your property as well. Is the location of your existing shed consistent with where other neighbors in your neighborhood have their sheds located?
It is.
Right. Right. And if you were standing, I see that there is, I guess that's an existing fence at the front right corner of your house to that property line?
You're facing the house from,
And then on the street, looking at the house
there's just a fence on the right
on the right
corner that
side?
just goes straight out.
Straight across? Is it a
and-
solid fence, or what kind of fence?
No, it's open. Yeah,
Open?
there's permits that we received for the fencing.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering if that was blocking the view of the shed or not.
Slightly, there's some trees there. I have a birch tree. Yeah,
All right, but it's consistent with what you find in your neighborhood?
it is.
Okay. I mean, if the board were inclined to grant that variance, I think, we have C2 reasons for that as well.
I'm going to open up to members of the public that would like to ask any questions on the testimony from Mr. or Mrs. Ravi. Everybody's good? All right, I'm going to close that portion. I'm also going to open it up to members of the public that would like to speak for or against, just in general, make any comments on this case. All right, seeing none, I'm going to close that as well. I did want to reach out on a stipulation, and now I've forgotten it.
I had a couple notes on, maybe I'll refresh your memory a bit. With respect to if you were to finish any additional portion of your basement, it would have to come back to the board,
Yes,
right,
yes.
for an additional variance relief. I think as you showed on your slide projection, there's no lighting to the left side,
Yes.
right, of the garage, won't be there.
All downspouts and all gutters would be tied into the existing system.
Right. No new utilities, so there's no need to cut the road open, so it's not an issue for you, right? That's all I had,
right.
really, yeah.
If you have any other comments for the board, if you want to wrap up, if you don't, that's fine too.
I think we're okay. I really appreciate your
All right,
time.
I'm going to open it up to the deliberations, and we'll look for a course of action after that. All right, thank you. We'll throw it down to our newest member. Chris, what are your thoughts?
It seems to me what that's fairly minimal as far as how far over the setbacks it's going. But it is over the setbacks. And the 20 feet is pretty close. It is over, it's close.
Would you be inclined to vote for this project? Do you like this project?
I would lean towards yes, but I'm curious what the others have.
All right, perfect, thank you. Oh, yeah.
Sure, I think the applicant makes a case here for the variances that are sought. I think it will be a benefit to the community, and also, personal circumstances that are needed for the home. I am inclined to support this application. If anything, maybe I would just like to see the garage narrowed just a tad bit, since we are over, but, overall, I am supportive of this application.
Kulak.
Yeah, I too would support the application. I think you're making a positive contribution to the neighborhood. You're enhancing your property value, and as Mr. Fu said, by correlation, the other properties in your neighborhood. It's consistent with a lot of the improvements I saw when I drove around the neighborhood, and I believe that it'll continue to grow as people improve their properties. And I think that given the kind of living space you describe and your needs, your request is quite modest. So I would definitely support the project.
First of all, I'm happy that you want to stay in Bridgewater. I've been here going on 31 years, and I'm staying. I agree with John over here. I drove the neighborhood before, and I'm familiar with the neighborhood. My sister used to live on Ivy Lane several years ago. And I like that you took pictures of the other houses, because it does show that it conforms basically what you're trying to do to yours. So it's really going to fit in, and I'm for the application, and good luck.
I'm in the same boat. I think you guys have done a great job. You did it without an attorney, you did it without an architect, a planner. These are noble endeavors. This is a tough thing to come in front of a bunch of strangers and have them ask you a lot of questions. I think we're going to see a lot of cases like this. I think with the cost of new construction or even existing constructions, one of the nice things about increasing real estate value in your town, it's wonderful, but it's also a hindrance. When people want to move and upscale, it makes it next to impossible, especially if you've got a mortgage or something from a few years ago, sub 4% with, interest rates above 7% now. So I think you've taken a lot into account. I think you've been very kind to your neighbors. I think you have put a lot of forethought into it, and I'm gonna vote in favor. And I think the C2 flexible C, I think the balance test, I think you've met the proofs, and certainly on the D4 FAR, it's a de minimis increase, and I'm in support. Mrs. Amin.
Simple application, and the way I look at it is that getting a little bit more space, we are allowed to expand the house. And only comment I have is that make sure your architect looks at the drawings and makes sure everything is properly done, because the title is incorrect, so make sure everything is properly done by him before it goes to the contractor. And I'm in favor of approving.
Thank you, Mrs. Min. Mr. Sweeney.
Thank you. I don't have much to add. I don't have anything to add, actually. I think it's a good application. I like the neighborhood. I think you're going to help improve the neighborhood, and good luck. I'll vote in favor.
Rich, do you have anything to add? And
No,
what's
just
our course
with
of
the
action?
conditions I mentioned before and those that are in the combined memo.
All right. Based on the board's deliberations, it sounds like we have a positive deliberation, and I'd look for a motion, please. Move to approve. Mr. Widley, do I have a second?
Second.
Kulak. Roger? Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
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 All right. Rafi family, good luck to you. Congratulations. Good job tonight. All right, thank you. All right, let me get our calendar here.
Would you email me the slide projection, the,
A1 and A2.
Yeah, would you?
Record those.
yeah, here, let me just give you this. It's just going to be helpful to me to prepare the resolution, frankly. All right, thank you.
So Roger, I have May 14th as our next meeting, is that correct? All right, May 14th, we're going to hear Starbucks, and just to reiterate what Mr. Aller said at the beginning of the meeting, that's going to be in this room, 7 PM, and that, there will not be further notice, correct?
Correct.
Rich? All right, and with that, unless,
Move to close the meeting.
all right, there's Mr. Widley to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Kulak, thank you, everyone. Great night.
That might be the last time we're out of here before 8 o'clock.
I know, the rest of the year.
Unless they postpone again.
Well, yeah, that may be.
That seems to be the problem.
Yeah.